Recording in progress.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us for today's edition of HR Mentorship Learning Series. We would like to appreciate you for joining this edition. Please feel free in the chat box. Let us know your name and where you are joining us from, the location. Our topic for today is end-to-end recruitment process. And our facilitator is Alassane Ocheni, who is a first-time facilitator on this prestigious platform. We are really excited to have him, and I'll be reading his profile very shortly. Please feel free to send the invitation, the flyer of this particular webinar to your colleagues at work, your friends, your professional associates, anyone you think can understand and get value from this specific webinar. Alassane Ocheni is a result-driven and strategic HR professional with over 5 years work experience that goes through talent acquisition, onboarding, learning and development, performance management, employee engagement, retention, reducing turnover, and process improvement. Currently, he works with African Industries Group, AIG, as a talent acquisition specialist. Previously, too, he had worked with Paycom Nigeria Limited, that we popularly all know as OP, as HR assistant, and also worked with Board Infrastructure Limited as an admin officer. He's relatively experienced and is a member. Okay, he's looking at completing his CIPN certification anytime soon as HND in accounting. Ladies and gentlemen, the next voice you'll be hearing is that of Alassane Ocheni, as he'll be taking us through end-to-end recruitment process. Alassane, you have the floor.
All right. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's a privilege to be here tonight. Thank you. My name is Alassane Ocheni, and I'll be taking the topics end-to-end recruitment process. All right. End-to-end recruitment. When we talk about end-to-end recruitment, we're talking about the processes involved in ensuring that you get the right talent into your organization. And some of these processes has to be followed to ensure that, yes, you get the right candidate. It's not all about just to recruit. It has processes that need to be followed. So we have stages when it comes to end-to-end recruitment. And when we talk about the stages, first stages you need to know is what we call vacancy identifications. All right. You have what we call line manager as HR and business partner to create the job description, internal broadcasting, external advertisements, sourcing for CV, and for the same CV for the line manager or head of department to review, shortlisting of candidates, conducting interview, selection to negotiation process, gathering of relevant documents, taking internal approval, offer in progress, offered, and onboarding. So these are the stages in end-to-end recruitment process. So when you want to do recruitment, you have to pass through all these stages. Without all these stages, recruitment can not be done in an organization. So you need to get to know these stages. So number one stages, like I said, is vacancy identification from department. Now, when you want to identify vacancy from the department, the first thing to do is to liaise with the line managers or the head of department, have a meeting with them, ensuring that yes, there are available vacancies. It's not all about maybe you stand up as an HR manager or HR professional, you stand up that you are filling up positions. So the first thing to do is you first have to identify this position. And doing this, you need to meet with the line managers. So when you talk about the the vacancy identification. This process is the process of evaluating the required role versus available manpower. So this process is where you evaluate the required role versus available manpower using what we call organogram. So organogram is just like a roadmap that guide organization manpower needs. So it's through this organogram you'll be able to know that, for instance, in accounting department, how many manpower is required and how many manpower is available. So you need to know this. So when you get to know that, the second thing is, and this one is done through the help of the HR, the line manager, and the head of the department. So another thing to know is the line managers slash the HR to create job description. So this aspect is where HR meets with the line manager slash HOD to create job description based on the experience, certifications, and relevant skills developed for the job. So the process of the line managers and the HRBP creating a job description, this is where they come together. The HR meets the head of department or the line manager to design a JD, which is job description, which are they require the relevant experience, the skills that is needed for for the role, right? So after that, we have what we call internal broadcasting, right? Part of the internal broadcasting, we still call it in human resources in form of a succession planning, right? So when a vacancy is identified, you need to internally check who has developed the skills over the years within the team that is good to be filling in this position. So that is where succession planning come into play as HR professional. So you need to have a succession planning in place in your organization so that when a particular person retire or resign or is terminated, as the case may be, you should have somebody within the department to fill up this position. Okay, so that is what we call internal broadcasting. Okay, so the internal broadcasting, at this junction, the vacant position need to be checkmate internally to know existing employee who has developed necessary skill to fit into this position, right? Another thing is external advertisement. This is where HR posts job vacancy on all social media platforms to attract the different talents. So this job posting is done on regular basis until the vacant position is filled. So this is where, when it talks about the external advertisement, the HR professional continuously post the job on all social media platforms, and this is done continuously until the position is closed out. Please confirm if you can hear me. Please confirm if you can hear me, or you drop emoji if you can still hear me.
We can hear you, sir.
Okay, so that is the external advertisement. Then we talk about sourcing slash forwarding CV to the HOD, which is head of department for review. So this in this aspect, this can be done through referral from co-employee or recommendation from various channels. Also, afterward, the line manager needs to review the resume and send back to the HR or the recruiter for shortlisting. So now, when he talks about sourcing, forwarding the CVs to the line manager, the HR needs to, just like I say, you need to gather CV, relevant CV that you have gathered after advertisement. You forward same CV to the ambassador or a third party manager that is actually recruiting. Your own is to implement what they bring on board. So that is why it's necessary to forward this resume for them to review and send back to you the one that are relevant from their end, right? Another thing is shortlisting of candidates. After you review, the review CV has been sent back to you as an HR professional, then you go for shortlisting of candidates that match the job requirement. So this is the process of scheduling interview for the best candidate. So during this process, interview is done via interaction with candidate and panel of interviewer. So this process is when you shortlist, inviting candidate to come for interview, right? It can be done either virtual or physical appearance in the company premises. So this is where you shortlist the candidate whom the CV has been forwarded back to you by the head of department. So this CV, you shortlist this candidate at least. You have give a week or two for candidates to prepare themselves for an interview. Not just maybe the CV has gone back to you, you begin to call candidate, can you come for an interview tomorrow? No, 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 no. These people need time to prepare themselves. So you need to give at least a week time or 2 weeks, as the case may be, for these people to prepare themselves for the interview. So another thing is another thing is selections and negotiation process. Now, after interview is conducted, the next step is selection and negotiation. So when it talks about selection, this process usually involve discussing which skills, ability, and personal characteristics are required to be successful at any given job, right? Which skills and ability and personal characteristics required to be successful on the job. So during the time of selection, it's not just to because you know that this candidate is my person, maybe I refer this candidate or it's somebody I know, I'll pick this candidate over this person. No, you need to take somebody whose experience, skills, or ability and their character match the job that you are looking for. Okay. So then I talked about negotiation. Now at this level, the HR or the managers needs to negotiate based on what is budgeted for the position, right? At this level, the HR in place and the line manager needs to negotiate with candidate based on what the budget is. We have seen a situation whereby maybe an account officer, the budget for the position is 250, and maybe we think we want to save cost, and we negotiate 150 with the candidate. Now this candidate, when they tend to know at the long run that they have been cheated, that this position is not the amount for it, it leads to them absconding or resign for their position, which the cost of re-recruiting will be higher than the initial recruitment. So we need to negotiate based on what the budget is, right? Not what we want to save cost, and not giving the candidates what they desire. Another thing we need to know, if potential employees sense at any level that they were underpaid, it will result to resigning from their position. Just like I said, if at any junction these people get to know that, for instance myself, at any junction I get to know that this position I am coming from, and I think candidates tend to resign from their position. Is gathering of relevant document for administrative review, right? After the negotiation and everything, selection, everything, the next one is gathering of relevant document for administrative review. You need to gather the relevant document. These are where you gather document from employee. Grading of government, at this junction, the HR need to ensure that all documents are collated for the next action plan. Those documents, we call it the administrative part of the human resource. So that is where you get their qualifications, certifications, and the rest of the document that is required, all their credentials that is required for you to take necessary approval before you move to the next one. Another one is taking internal approvals. Now, at this junction, when you have gathered their document, you go for internal approval through the line manager approval, the head of the HR approvals, and the CEO or the COO of the company approval. So you need to get this approval before you move to the next stage. So you need, without this approval, you can move forward, right? Taking internal approvals, at this stage, the HR meets with all necessary managers or stakeholders to take approval before extending an offer. So you need to take approval before extending offer. Okay. Now, the next slide is what we call offer in progress. Offer in progress. So offer in progress, at this level, the HR needs to ensure that an offer is accepted verbally before sending officially. What do I mean by this? Offer in progress, the HR need to know that you don't just, maybe after everything you take approval, they have signed, and you start preparing the offer and sending to candidate. No, you need to call candidate, ensure that yes, this is the offer, this is what is there, this is what is attached to the offer, this is their benefit. Let them know everything clear. Let it be clear to them that this is what we are going to send. Let them accept it verbally. What I mean by accept verbally is having an agreement with them first before you send out the offer. Not just you prepare the offer and send without seeking the candidate knowledge. Okay, so that is it. Also, the HR need to allow the new employee to decide when to join the team and not forcing a date on them. What do I mean by this? When you are sending offer, you need to call the candidate that when you have gotten their offer, which you already discussed with them, their notice period, they have told you. All this is talking about the notice period. So you need to let them decide when to join your team, not you forcing a date on them that I've gotten your offer, we are about sending you offer, you have to join next week Monday, you have to join this date, you have to join that day. No, allow them to choose a date that is best fit for them, right? So that is for offer in progress. The next one is offered, right? Offered. Now, the offered is when you have, after offer in progress, you go to offer. That is when you have extend the offer out to the candidate. Then the other one, next one is what we call onboarding, right? Now, onboarding is a process of integrating a new hire into the system. Now, onboarding is a situation whereby you give the maximum support to new hire to ensure that they integrate well into the system. You don't just recruit somebody and you abandon this person or not checking up. As a HR professional, once you recruit, you do and check up. It's something we call check up. You check up on your new journal to know how they are doing, how they are adapting to the new culture. Remember that this person or these people rather are coming from different background, different work culture, different places. So you need to check up to know how they are doing, ensuring that the right tools is provided for them to work, and all the tools they need to use to work are all available, right? So that is, please confirm if you can still hear me.
We can hear you, sir. Continue for the
All
rest
right.
of the session.
Okay. So now my next slide is talking about performance indicator in recruitment, right? Performance indicators in recruitment. So now, when it talks about performance indicators in recruitment, these are the matrices that measure recruitment, right? So without this, recruitment is not balanced. Okay, what are the performance that measured in recruitment? One of the performance that measured is time to hire, right? The second is cost per hire. We have quality of hire, and we have offer acceptance rate. Okay, time to hire, cost per hire, quality of hire, and offer acceptance rate. These are the key performance indicator in recruitment. Okay, let's talk about this one after the other. My next slide will speak about this one after the other. Now, when it talks about time to hire, now the time to hire, this measures the number of days between a candidate applying for a job and that same candidate accepting a job offer. As shows, the time to hire metrics provide information about. Now, when it talks about time to hire, the time to hire actually is saying that the date the position is vacant, is declared vacant, the time it take you and the time it take you to fill this position is regarded as time to hire or time to fill, right? Now, this time to hire matrix is provide information about what? One of the information it provide is recruiting efficiency. That is, a long time to hire indicates a slow and inefficient process with unnecessary bottlenecks. What do I mean? If a slow time to hire is taking you 30 days to fill up a position, that means there are bottlenecks there that needs to be checkmate or removed. Another thing is candidate experience. Time to hire provide candidate experience. Now, from a candidate perspective, a time to hire of 2 weeks is more appealing to them than a time to hire of 3 months. A faster time to hire will therefore lead to a better candidate experience. Now, what do I mean by this? A better time to hire will lead to a candidate experience, good experience. If you have conduct interview for somebody and it's taking you 2 months before you send offer, or no, these people have performed well knowing fully maybe there are some bottlenecks along the line and it's taking you longer period to send offer, there is tendency that these people will get another job and move on. They can't be waiting for you. So it will make the candidate like, this company is not serious. Okay, so that is this. Then the next slide is talking about a cost per hire. Cost per hire. Now, the cost per hire, this encompasses all costs incurred while filling a vacant position. That is the cost of advertisement, recruitment, and cost to company, which is called CTC. Cost to hire is a situation where all the costs incurred during the process of recruitment is regarded as cost per hire. Now, this cost per hire is that is why it is very, very paramount to ensure that you recruit right, right? You recruit right so that you don't go back for fill a position that you have filled before. That is why you need to recruit the right talent for an organization, so that if you recruit a wrong talent within a month or two, these people is fired, terminated. So the cost of rehiring is going to be much higher than the initial cost. Okay. Another one is quality of hire. Quality of hire. Now, quality of hire, this indicates how well a new employee fits into the system and perform his task or her task diligently. It can also be seen as how long a new joiner stay in an organization, right? Quality of hire is saying that is indirectly talking about the retention strategies. How long does the new person you recruit stay in organization? Okay, and the last one when it comes to um performance indicator is the acceptance rate offer acceptance rate. Now, offer acceptance rate, this is a percentage of candidates who accept a job offer over those that decline, right? For instance, I'll give example. Maybe you recruit for 5 position and you have sent out 5 offer out, right? And out of these 5, 4 accepted the offer and 1 declined the offer. So it's a good indicator. It's a good indicator that yes, your offer acceptance rate is effective, right? But however, if you send out 5 offers, 2 accepted and 3 rejected, that means there is a question mark that needs to be checkmate. So this is what we talked about the recruitment. So in recruitment, you need to ensure that you get the right candidate, just like I've said before. You need to ensure that, yes, all this put in place. It's not all about recruitment alone. It's all about another thing we call talent management, right? So we talked about the talent management. It's not just to recruit. We talked about the talent management. When you recruit, you need to manage these talents that you have recruited. You don't just recruit for an organization and all of a sudden you don't manage these people. You need to have a strategy put in place to ensure that these people you are recruiting, you have a retention plan, you have to manage them well. One of the things that make them to stay, or how do I put it? There are 2 things that make candidates to stay in an organization. One of them is the compensation and benefit, which have the industry standard, right? The industry standard compensation and benefit. And another is organizational culture. So as a company, at least, even if you don't have the capacity to have these 2, you should have one of them. This is what makes the organization stand out. This is what makes the company to retain the talent they have, right? Seeing your employee as part of the owner of the business also make candidates to stay back in an organization. But when there is nothing like that, you don't see them as part of the business, they tend to, like, they don't have career in your organization, and they tend to and shift from looking somewhere or looking for their own greener passion or Canada, as the case may be. So you need to ensure that, yes, your employee are part of your business, are part of the business. Also, the work-life balance of employee matters. In our modern generation, we see work-life balance as very, very important. That is why most employee does not want to work in a places where they don't have time to their self, time to their personal needs and all other things. Okay. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much, Alazan, for your presentation. Ladies and gentlemen, if you have contributions, want to share insights, or you have questions directly around the subject matter, end to end, of course, showing on your screen right now, you can see the end-to-end recruitment process in one slide, from vacancy identification from department up to onboarding. Perhaps you want to share an experience or insights around any of these stages, or maybe there's a sub-stage or a stage that you also think you can add or highlight to extend your contribution to this conversation. Please, if you raise your hands, we are very happy to hear your voice. You can also type your question. Thank you so much. People are already sending in their gratitude for the session so far. King says this is highly impactful. Well done. Shea Adebola says well done. Just to mention a few. We are taking comments, we are taking contributions, we are taking input. I see Janet, and Janet, please, you have the floor. Your contributions are very much welcome.
Okay, thank you very much for this
Janet is on mute.
Thank you so much for this opportunity. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Good evening, everyone.
Janet, we can hear
Please,
you.
go ahead. I can hear you.
Just go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay, my name is Janet Olukayode. I'm a recruiter, a tech recruiter, and also an HR generalist. I'm very much interested in this topic, and then I'm the one that said I'm not going to miss this this discussion this evening on our platform. And thank you for this opportunity. So what I want to say is about the time to hire. Sometimes the problem is not from the recruiter. It's maybe the line manager and then or the organization, because I actually recruit for my organization and I also recruit for clients. I do it recruiting also as my side business. So I have this challenge of so my clients, they will delay the recruitment process, for like 1 month, 2 months, and it's annoying. After I've gone through all the stress of sourcing for the candidates, I've done the pre and the virtual interview, depends on how they want it, and then I've shortlisted profiles, candidates that I think meets the JD that they shared. It now takes them a long time, before they will decide, and then before they will do their own interview and so on and so before they will eventually. And I've talked severally that most times these candidates will move on, and then sometimes the candidates will start calling me and asking how far, and I just keep looking for it to, pacify them, and I cannot tell them um you have not been shortlisted or so. So I still find a way to manage them somehow. It's not a nice experience, especially for recruiters. So if you are very if you are always on LinkedIn, you see people complaining about recruiters, frustrating job seekers and so on. And so it's not really our fault. You understand? So I don't know if there's anybody experienced enough here that can share how do we manage such clients who delay? Because I'm not working in their own organization. If it's my own organization, I know what is happening, to try and see how I can speak with the line managers and eventually go through all these processes that he has said so that we can fast track it. I know what to tell the candidates also and manage them. But when you are working as an external recruiter to clients and then they are delaying the process for whatever reasons, and so on. And so it's not a very palatable experience for the recruiter and also for the job seekers. So I don't know if there's any advice anybody can give you. How do we handle this type of thing? So it definitely affects time to hire, but this time to hire in this case is not the fault of the recruiter. So that's just the point I just want to bring.
Thank you so much. Ochemi, do you want to say something around, you want to respond, react to
Okay.
the issues
Yes.
you raised?
Okay. Right. When I'm also a recruiter, right? Yes, that is one of our major challenges, and these candidates out there think that we are the one that is not ready. For instance, some people even said, "You are the owner of the job. You have the job. Give us the job. You don't want to give us the job, right?" Now, one of the things that has helped me, right? Maybe I work with organization, though I'm not a consultant. So one of the things that has helped me is um going back to the line manager, right? Like the head of a department. We have head of department, maybe a boss, your boss, they need to go back to the stakeholders to have a meeting again. And you need to review that, okay, this is candidate experience. If we don't tend to attend to these people will go elsewhere. So you need to go back to meet with your client, letting them know about the consequences of all this and how it will result in you not filling up this position. Because let them know also that when you for instance, you advertise, you call candidate for interview, they have passed through all things and you didn't attend to them on time. When you are advertising next time, nobody will respond to you because they will
Exactly.
tag you as a fraud. So you need to go back to give them back the review from candidate as well. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very
Okay.
much. I've done all this.
We'll quickly take
I've done all this, but I think I just need to still continue to push so that we can work on it. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
we'll provide more insight on these questions. Sheyi Adegbola, please. Sheyi Adegbola, you have the floor. You can unmute and speak. We'll take as many people as possible tonight.
Thank you, Doctor. It's just interesting what the last question. What I see here is an issue of number one, policy, number two, best practices, and number three, ability to be professional, despite the money that is involved. I don't see where there is no opening, or are you trying to just test your skills? Because I can't see myself wasting 3 months getting a candidate and somebody telling me at the end of the day, I'm sorry, I don't need it again. If at my level, you will not tell me the reason why there's a vacancy in the first place, I won't even attend to your request. Probably we need to put policies in place. Is there a request for that position, or you just want to help a particular manager, or you just want to support what you feel emotionally, not professionally? So we need to learn to let our managers know. They will come with anything, every excuse. Everybody wants to gather people to do the work. So don't be caught up with those kind of things. In my organization, what I sent out a mail last month telling anybody that cares to know, let me know your manpower need. If you are doing manpower analysis and you are planning following years, doctor has told us many times how to start the year. Does that mean that they didn't even tell you the things they need for this year before they start disturbing you? Or they think it's easy to recruit? Those are the issues. So I think we need to put on our professional cap to let managers know that recruitment is not beans. We to make it looks like if it's busy. That's another problem. Once they come, we help them out, and they think it's easy. I was in a meeting just on Tuesday, and when I saw some comment, I said, sir, if you know what it takes to fill a position, you will fill for us. So I just told all my managers, if you send me a need, I will sit with you. We will crack it down. Until we crack it down, I will not do any vacancy. You can't turn me to somebody that don't have other things to do. The same people will now tell you you are not helping us in other areas. And before you know it, you are burning out your recruiter. You are burning out your talent acquisition guys. Because they will have worked all day, all month, and present the best to you. Now say, I'm sorry, let's hold on a bit. People that you have recruited, God help you, you have sent them for medicals, they have passed. They have even negotiated offers. And God catch you, they have resigned where they are coming from. They can sue you.
Yes.
Maybe we need to start learning some of these things. Best practice, don't say because you are in Nigeria, some best practices don't apply. If you give me an offer and I've accepted and you are delaying me, you will pay me. But because we have not experienced some of those things, that's why we go away with it. So, madam, in this year, don't grieve for anybody. Let them know you are a professional and you don't have time to waste. Focus. If possible, put up a policy that everybody will sign on so that they won't waste your time. Thank you. I don't want to talk too much. I'm angry. Doctor, sir, over to you, sir.
Thank you so much for that eloquent contribution. Very important. More people will speak, and everybody who raise their hand will speak around either this question or this subject matter. Any good practice, best practice you have around recruitment process, please share and contribute to this conversation. I just want to suggest that I dropped something in the chat box that many firms even give a recruitment brief to like 4 or 5 recruitment agencies at the same time. And sometimes they don't tell all these recruitment firms that they are not the sole recruiter. So 3, 4, 5 agencies are in the market for a particular role, and then maybe they eventually get the candidate from one source. What happens to the other 3, 4 recruiters? They are held in the limbo. Sometimes, when some firms give recruitment firms vacancies to recruit, they too are still sourcing internally. But the same role they've given to their sources. And that's why sometimes they'll just go quiet because somehow they have resourced the role either internally or through another client. You may consider this, it may work, it may not work. It depends on how your gravitas in the market. If you're upcoming, it may be difficult to do. Some recruitment firm, we insist that when you are giving them a recruitment brief, you give them some form of upfront, like maybe 20% or something, or like a search fee. So if I search for you, the search fee is different from the hire fee, success fee, such that if you now hire. So that way, you've paid me for sourcing. If you don't recruit, you've not wasted my energy, my time, and my blood. Just wanted to give you that in case you've not tried that option. We'll quickly go to Ayodele. Ayodele, please.
Good evening, Doctor. Good evening to our facilitator. Okay, I just want to share an insight on reasons why at times recruitment process is delayed. For some company like us that work more on contracts, at times we halt recruitment process because our clients are not responding timely. Probably they've given us like a month or two to execute the project. And many a times we want to have the SLA. We want to be sure of the content of the project before we start up. And so when this does not come in timely, we tend to halt the recruitment process so that we can hear from them. Because the truth is, when we don't hear from them and we engage people, that is a cost on the business already. And which cost center are we going to put that when we've not heard from the clients and the project is on hold? I don't know if you get what I'm saying. So in instances like that, we halt recruitment process. Even there was a time, I think about 2 years back, we had to put a prospect on hold after giving an offer letter. We had to call her, explain certain things to her because a client that was supposed to come out for give us a project just called few days before the project and tell us that something happened and they need to put it on hold. And engaging the the prospects when we don't have the vacancy is a cost on the business. So this happens at times and it's not outrightly the business fault. So in instances like that, there are times situation where we put such prospects on management training. But there is a limit to the number of people, understanding that this comes with a cost. So I want to enjoy the recruiters that it is not deliberate at times. So it happens. At times we do direct sourcing and it happens with us that we've sourced, it's successful. We've even done the documentation. It's just to engage them and invite them for pre-employment test and conclude on the resumption date. And we have to tell them to hold on maybe for a week or 2 weeks before asking them to come in. But talking about 2-3 months, I'm not sure that's fine enough. That's a long one. So just like Doctor said, probably the company recruiting had given the job to another recruiter, and so they've actually gotten the candidate from another recruiter, and they don't want to come out to say that they've gotten the candidates because they don't know what the performance of that candidate will be. They want to be sure that they have the best fit. They want to be sure that they have more options to choose from so that on the long run, there is something to fit in for them in the system. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your contribution. Very, very insightful. And let me quickly say one or two things. Yeah, but before I say that, let me read what my brother, my colleague, my friend, Shea Adebola has put here. Said SLAs. In other words, when external recruitment firms are involved, make sure you have a signed SLA with the company or firm you are hiring for. And these terms and conditions should be clearly included. I sometimes understand the pressure. We have what we call a bias market. You feel like, if your terms and conditions are firm or strict, that they can easily call. We have a lot of, so to speak, one-man freelancers and so on and so forth who are ready to bid and pitch, even reduce the recruiter's fee, how much more terms and conditions, try to make it more flexible. But especially if you are doing it at a full-time professional level, we want to avoid liabilities and so on and so forth. And that also speaks to one of the key points our facilitator, Alassane Ocheni, had mentioned. taking internal approvals. In your own instance, it will be getting relevant approvals from the clients. Get a commitment from the client. Let me also quickly chime in. I don't want to forget. So we'll go to Vicky Star next. But before that, I don't want to forget. Please, recruiters, internal, external, whatever role, always advise your potential hires, candidates, not to resign until you give them offer letter.
Okay.
Please don't imply that even when you're 100% sure you will hire a candidate until the letter has been signed. Don't, in fact, be upfront. Say, don't resign yet. I've even seen many instances where, what we call provisional offer, they will send a draft offer, no signature or anything. And then
Correct.
for the signed, maybe the candidate will sign, for the client or recruitment hiring manager or company to sign back, it will enter voicemail. And some candidates, once they sign like that or they just get an email, they'll go and resign. Now, I hear my brother Shola loud and clear, you can go to court, but that court can be 4 years, it can be 3 years, it can be 2 years, which is okay, fight to the end. But let's even do prevention is better than cure. I'll say a few more things, but let's quickly go to Vicky Star. Again, if you want to contribute to tonight's conversation, please raise your hands. Any insight around the recruitment process, please share it. Join this conversation. Vicky Star, I've called you like 3 times. Please, Vicky, thank you.
Thanks so much for this section. I learned a lot, though I was on transit, but I just had to do it because I promised I would do it. Thank you so much for this opportunity. Thank you for this insight. Now, my question is, there are some recruiters that, okay, they have given you this hope that you will get the job. And at the end of the day, no email whatsoever. Even at some point, you end up calling. Somebody even respond to you. Then in another case, you are the one recruiting, and someone has given you this green light that they're going to take up the role. On the day of, let's say, the day of resumption, you're getting a mail or you're getting a note from this person. How do you cope with that? Because I know I've been faced with a lot of stuff like this. Then thirdly, they will tell you, oh, go out there, search for candidates, and they keep the salary, like you're putting up an advert. You're asking what is the salary like, and they're telling you just tell them best practice is up to standard. And somebody is asking you, I want to apply for this job. What is it? You don't have an idea. Why? Because not everybody that is in that role, not everyone occupying that role gets the same amount of salary. Somebody is working in that organization for like 10 years, he's still at a particular rate, and the person that is coming in is bidding for a higher rate, and you're going for that person. And this class will discuss among themselves, and they find out, oh, someone has been there, has been earning more than me. Why is it that people that just been are earning more than those that have been occupying that position? So I just want to know, and mostly it happens in one man. Not so when they say best practice, I wonder where the best practice is coming from. So I want to know how do you handle all those people?
Vicky,
Thank you.
I crave your indulgence to do me a favor. Your voice appears muffled. I couldn't hear. So I assumed it was my own network, but I've gotten feedback from like 7 other participants. Do me a favor. I sense they are saying something very important, and I don't want us to miss it. Indulge us. Type it as briefly as possible or as lengthy as you want in the group. I'll read it out for you. Please don't be upset. This point you are making is valuable. Please type it. All right. Our daily sound is still up. I don't know if it's an old and if not, drop it. If it is a new and retain it. But let's quickly take Oluchi, please.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, our facilitator, for a detailed session. My contribution would be that the business also should, at the end of the year or at the beginning of the year, the management should, speak with HR or business head on the strategy for the year, where the business is going to, and if they are going to be expansion. So that should also come into our budget for the year. So we know what we are going to be spending, how much we are going to be spending on workforce for the year. That way, we mitigate against line managers coming to us with long list of human beings they want in their unit, because we will be working with management's directive that the business is going to expand to Kano first quarter, second quarter, and we'll be needing, these are the what we'll be doing there. And so that guides the recruiter on the human assets we will be needing in such areas. So it also, puts out that part of the line managers coming to ask you for a whole lot of human beings that are not part of the business expansion as directed by management. And that will also come into our HR budget for the year. Another contribution I want to say is for the recruiters, whether consultants or internal, where the business heads take time to get back to us on what next after the initial recruitment exercise, I would suggest we communicate to the candidates rather than keeping quiet. For those that didn't make it at the first stage, immediately you let them know they didn't make it at the first stage, but do it nicely so they still feel good about themselves. And then for those that passed, you could say, oh, you are moving into the next stage, we will communicate. At least that, gives them a kind of closure for those that didn't make it and for those that have hope of going ahead. But keeping quiet and waiting for the candidate to come and nudge you. What happened? I was interviewed 3 months ago. I've not heard anything from us is not a right process. And finally, from my end, candidate experience when they come for interview. Sometimes we invite candidates for interview and, we leave them out there, they come in, nobody to welcome them at the
Yes.
reception or wherever. You don't even, maybe the security doesn't even know you're expecting visitors for that day. Some people leave them there for God knows how long. When candidates apply to your organization for a role advertised, it doesn't mean that they are jobless. Maybe some of them just want to come and see how your organization is. They want to test their worth in the market or for their various reasons, not necessarily that they are, looking for a job. And because they apply doesn't make them less of a human being. So when they come, we should treat them better, because some people accepting the job in your organization or not accepting might hold 100% depend on how they were even received when they came, even before you start the recruitment process, whether they have something in their head or they don't have. But the candidate experience when they came in also goes along, because we are not only interviewing them, the candidates are also assessing us too. That is
Correct.
the primary culture assessment they would have before they will consider if you're paying them millions or not, if they will take up the role. So candidate experience when they come for interview is also good. And not somebody taking excuse from where they are working and coming and, to be told the interview was cancelled or, giving some shoddy behavior or treatments. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Oluchi, for that beautiful contribution. I see one and earlier. I think that should be Kelvin. Kelvin, please unmute and provide perspectives on this subject
Okay,
matter. Kelvin,
okay, good evening, doctor, and good evening,
good evening, sir.
everyone. Okay, my name is Kelvin. I'm a human resource manager. I'm the member of CIPM. And I want to quickly say something regarding the stages in end-to-end recruitment process. There is one stage that is currently need to be adjusted, like a pre-employment medical test. Should be after the interview. It should be the next other interview to be done before gathering of documents and taking approval from any other office or offer. So I strongly believe there should be a stage for pre-employment medical check. And outside that, the other one is when we talk about candidate waiting for a long time before calling them to take up the job, or after giving an offer, they are still being told to stay for a while before they will call upon. So it now depends on two ways. One, if you are recruiting internal recruitment, maybe you are an initial working organization, you want to fill a particular role in your organization. So there is a need for you to, before starting the recruitment, as the resource person said, before starting the recruitment, you have identified the role already. So all you need to do, you the managers, which is the either unit head or supervisor or sub-unit, should take an approval from the necessary office that they actually need this manpower. And if that approval have been gotten, so HRO should go ahead with all the process for you to get to the point of giving an offer, and then you are now waiting for approval to give offer out, which is not actually making any sense. And for those of us who actually do recruitment for like assessing, so it is important that you put a policy in place, as Mr. Sholabi Ola said earlier. It's important you put your policy in place because I know some of organizations here in Lagos, they use one particular recruitment organization. So it is how you present your terms and conditions to your client that determines how they treat you. So you put your policy in place that if they have given you this particular assignment or this job for you to fill a role for them, they should know that this role need to be filled within particular period. So it is part of your policy, need to be stated there. And my other advice or other my professional colleagues that when any of these candidates come to an organization for interview, we supposed to understand, professionally need to understand that we are the ambassador of that company at that point. So there is no need of you, for example, as this Mrs. Olushi said, and maybe you are a candidate is coming for an interview. Even your security are not even aware that you have a candidate coming for interview. So a day before, or 2 days or 3 days before, you have to send a circular or send a mail to a security unit that you are expecting set of people. And in fact, you can even send the name to the security through the email or through circular so that they should be aware and they should be they receive them warmly to the HRO unit or to the boardroom, wherever you are going to use for the interview. So I believe that one will help. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your contribution. So if I will add to these stages in end-to-end recruitment, like put a box, okay, somehow and somewhere, I'll put a box as to communication or communicating with candidates that we are not proceeding with. You know, when you are doing offer, there are people that don't get the offer. So in other words, if maybe and there are tools that help, for example, if you all these applicant tracking systems, you can, for example, acknowledge every CV you get. That's a first line or a first stage, which is good. We receive the CV and we are reviewing it. You can automate it so that you can say if you don't get from us in 2 weeks or in 1 month, you can take that at this level, you are not successful. However, if you permit, we can retain your CV in our system for 6 months or 1 year. And if we have any upcoming vacancies, we'll still consider you and contact you. That way, in case about a month or 2 months later, you now see that you need them. You've not said no completely. That's like an old email, and you kept them in view. But if people now do maybe assessments like a test or something, you owe them a feedback. Okay, the feedback could be something around thanking them for participating in the test or something, but they did well, but fell shy of the cutoff marginally or something, or you chose the top 20 and they didn't meet it, make that cut at this time. Something polite and positive. If people now come to the level of doing interview, either physical or virtual, please, you can even call them to give them a feedback. Sometimes emails can be very cold. You call them if you have the capacity and the time, and you can create it. The call can be 1 minute. You first call them, thank them for the interview, let them know they are not proceeding with the 5 minutes later, they can get the email. That email will not appear as cold as it will have been if you didn't call. But if you can't call, no problem. Please send them a mail. I'm speaking as an HR that has also been a candidate in multiple contexts or have had feedback. This is a community of HR. Please, if we can create time to invite people to interview, we should create time to respond to them. Please, I'm begging. That feedback is important. Some people will still be praying about the job opportunity when somebody has done testimony that they've resumed on the same job opportunity. It's not fair on God. Do you understand what I mean? We could have saved this mystery by prompt communication. Don't let us put these stakeholders in the dark. So, Ocheni, if there are any questions you are comfortable with responding to in the chat box, please feel free. I know how to talk a little. I'm learning how to talk. But let me quickly read some feedback very quickly. I'll first of all read from SOE. SOE says here, please, as a business, we know we are expanding. So as the year is coming to an end, for example, maybe as 2024 was winding down, we had all departments sending their manpower need. And at some point, and what point? So you send your manpower need for 2025. And what point? For example, is it Q1? Is it Q2? Is it Q3 or Q4? As the case may be. If you have not done that, it's not too late. This is January. You can still do that. Ask for the manpower needs from each department, each unit. You collate it, and then you can present a centralized manpower need to management for consideration, as the case may be. Ladies and gentlemen, so he also adds there that after every interview, all panel must fill an assessment sheet and sign. I assume that this panel sheet doesn't have to be physical, it can be a virtual sheet of some sort. This helps to know if you are proceeding or not. It then enables us to give feedback to candidates almost immediately. Sometimes we send a mail to them that if they do not hear from us in 2 weeks, then the role has been filled. It just helps to ensure that candidate is not kept waiting for too long, especially when line manager starts behaving funny. She now ended with a prayer. She said, God help recruiters. I say amen. All right. Vicky Star has graciously also she dropped a thought, a very fluid thought, and I'll read it for the purpose of people who will be watching this on YouTube and won't have access to this particular Zoom chat. First, she says here, how do we, as recruiters, handle candidates accept our offer at the beginning, and upon resumption, they either show us a red flag or they never communicate at all, and then we are stuck. So this almost looking like you issued an offer letter and then they accepted it. And any clarification here? Is it that they now ghost us? In other words, they didn't show up, they didn't resume, or maybe they resumed on day 1 and day 2, and then they don't show up. Alazan, you want to say something around this question?
Yes, exactly. We are a recruiter, and this one we call it part of our breakfast. We normally joke around, we call it breakfast well served, right? Now, what happened in a situation like this, Victor, right? In a situation like this is where candidate is testing the organization he or she is working with. What this candidate do is maybe you interview them, they are successful, you have sent them offer. Maybe the salary they are earning at the moment is 200, and the one they negotiate with your company is 300. So they'll take this salary, they'll take this offer letter they get from your company to their own current organization that, okay, I have offer of so. So their organization will meet the offer you give them and even oversee the offer you give them. So these people, when they see something like that, they will not like, okay, I've been in this organization and I'm loyal to this organization. Let me remain here. Where I am is where I know. I don't know where I'm going to. They have matched my offer. What do I need to go again? So instead of them to come out professional to say that, okay, your offer, I really appreciate you for your offer, but I think I'll be declining the offer due to some personal reason or due to so reason. They don't come out to say that. So at the day, they will be playing around it that no problem. I have someone that will be telling me I'm on my way, I'm coming. I just have to ask this guy, If you know you are no longer interested, just come out bold and tell me, let me move on. You don't keep me in a shadow. So Vicky, that is what happens most importantly sometimes. Okay, I think you have a second question.
Yeah. So the
Okay.
second question here is, some candidates pick up a role as a new employee and they earn a higher salary than the present employees in the same position, which gets the staff offended. So technically, it's a recruitment question, but it's a compensation question. And it's speaking around legacy staff and new staff. So I'll speak to that. Again, if anybody on the call wants to speak to that, raise your hands and we'll recognize you and you can contribute. Now, this is an English adage. It says that familiarity breeds contempt. Generally speaking, and I'm not saying this from a right or wrong perspective, I'm just saying this from a data and observation perspective. People who are loyal and stay in one company and are productive, they get salary increase from time to time, promotion. But generally speaking, the rate of change of their salary increase is relatively stable and relatively the same when you compare with a similarly good candidate who is changing organizations. So if you spend, say, 20 years in one organization, vis-a-vis somebody who, in that same 20 years, changed organization 5 times, chances are, of course, there are exceptions to every rule, that the person who has spent 20 years but has moved organization 5 times, when you are coming from outside, you won't look at Uche's face, which means, especially if where you are living, your job is not threatened in any way, so you can stretch the limits of your request, of your ask. You can ask for 100% review. You can even ask for 200% review. But it's not very easy. Where you are the internal candidate, maybe you're on 400. Now say, please increase my salary to 800. HR will now tell you something like, oh, we have a 30%, a 20% markup on salary review by the board. Then if they answer you and treat it for you, it will lead to a spiral effect where other internal employees will start coming for quantum increase. But it is sometimes a little bearable that they gave the person more, but it's coming from outside. Chances are very few people internally will have an idea of what that person is earning from where they are coming from. Internally, you know what you are earning. This is not to say this is justifiable, but directly, I've worked in 1 or 2 places where, for example, when we brought people in from outside, after negotiation, after extensive recruitment process and such, we realized that maybe we talked to 5 to 10 or 20 people. All of them were either already earning more than what we are paying or asking for what we are paying, and they didn't know each other. Eventually, when we brought in the new person, we had to do like a salary review for the people in that department to bring them at par with market realities. Why did we do that? So the signing up of a new staff on a new pay became a blessing to people because it now dawned on us that our other staff in that department are poachable, highly poachable, because if competition just gives them market rate, not above market rate, they will jump at it because maybe market rate was more than 40%, 50% above what we were currently paying. So that's the best way to address it. But in a situation where you can't afford to, at least HR or management call that employee, speak with them, engage them, identify their concerns, validate it. If you want to now promise them, maybe you can, so to speak, give them 100% review. If you can do something, do something. Let them know that you deserve this, but we can afford this and the why. And then, but what happens many times is we ignore and pretend as if we are not aware and hope that they too are not aware. And that typically worsens the situation. Before we go to question 3, Bukola, Mercy, your hands are up. You can please chime in, please. So while we are waiting for,
All right,
okay, Bukola,
good evening.
you can speak.
Yeah,
Good evening.
thank you, doctor.
All right, so just from what you said now, something dropped on my mind. I sometimes wonder why we make the mistake of believing that external recruitment is like the best option. I'm saying this because I've seen cases where there's a vacant position and there are people within the organization that can actually fit into that role. But after the internal, interview process was done, the best candidate amongst the qualified ones, the best candidate quoted a price that was, well, not outrageous, but of course is what the company can afford. But then the management to be like,
Audio
no,
lost. Audio lost.
what's it doing? Yeah, I
At
believe
this junction,
somebody
I would like
from
to
outside
suggest that
can
you please type
actually
your question.
do
Hello,
better.
Bukola.
And then
We can't
they
hear
go
you.
outside
Your
to
voice is muffled.
bring somebody in that is even, and on the long run, the person finds it difficult. Nobody is keeping to themselves. They are now all of this. I just feel like that. I feel that you can't make a decision like you very difficult.
Okay. It's like internet is behaving funny. Okay. The final question by Vicky. I'm trying to locate that question, but the question speaks around. Okay, I found it. How do you handle the situation where you are asked to engage candidates or put up an advert for a new role without any salary is attractive, which isn't easy? Well, I understand this. I'm aware of this, and rather common, too common for comfort, where the people who want to recruit, what I would suggest to the you push and you don't get a salary, the organization that is commissioning you or your boss that gave you the assignment in the situation where you are the in-house HR, quickly do a quick survey, very quick survey, nothing technical or competent. Call people, for example, who are occupying that role in maybe competition in other places around the same kind of industry. Of course, don't say how much do they pay, because sometimes the question may look intrusive and people have obligations, to data privacy and information privacy and so on and so on. So just say, what's a reasonable range for so role with 5 years experience? Then say, what's the reasonable range of so role maybe with 8 years experience? So ask for like 3-4 ranges. This way you'll be able to calibrate and see if they are telling you the truth. And this truth is easier in a range than with a specific. When you have now called 4-5 people, other sources, and you've gotten a reasonable range or threshold, you can now eat back to your principal, internal or external, say you did some preliminary findings. The current market rate for this role is 500,000 to 700,000, minimum to maximum. Please confirm you are comfortable and you can afford this range. Most of the time, I'm speaking from experience, once you are now specific and you shoot your specificity to the client or to your internal agent, they will react. That reaction can be, It's too much. Oh, no. We are taking 350. That has now given you something to work with. Now you can now advertise the job and say, oh, between 300 and 400. Some people will abuse you and say, it's too small. But at least some people sincerely are okay. That 400 can be a quantum leap to them. Maybe they are earning 200 and they can do the job and they are happy, at least for the next 6 months, 1 year, whatever. Please, but don't just say you ask them for a rate, they didn't respond. You have to be creative. You throw something at them, they can now even respond to say, 500 to 700, we are comfortable. And then you can now proceed and position accordingly. All right. Thank you for your response in the chat box, Vicky. I think I saw a comment by. Okay, let me read this question from Fidelis. All right. So the question, let me paraphrase it here. You have a concern. Okay, some recruitment firms, before revealing job vacancies, collect a charge as much as 5,000 naira or more. And some also collect a range of maybe 50% to 90% of the first salary of
Your network.
candidates. They even invite you for an interview paid by the recruiting firm, generally speaking. But sometimes, because of desperation, I'm back. So, like I was saying, you don't charge the candidate for recruitment. You charge the firm, the organization that is hiring. But because of desperation and scarcity and perceived scarcity, and people not, having a good appreciation of their competencies and capabilities, they may be desperate. So when they see, most of the time when you see firms trying to get the candidates to pay, in my opinion, they are quack. They don't render service to tier 1 or tier 2 or tier 3 organizations. They are just more or less like scavenging. Let me use that frame. Please don't pay for recruitment. It smells of scam. It smells of exploitation. It's completely unfair. If you charge the organization you are recruiting for. You can charge whatever percentage as long as both parties agree. I think that's it. So generally speaking, you say who is regulating it, or who do you report to, or how do you regulate it? It's like is willing buyer and willing seller. Stop patronizing them. Simple. Look, there are many, for every scam job you see like that, or exploitative job, there are 5, 10, 20 jobs that won't ask you for a dime. There are credible job sites, platforms. Keep applying for jobs and ignore. You don't want to turn yourself to be the one chasing like Sherlock Holmes, except somebody reports specifics with details and with evidence. Nobody can just take something up. The people that are paying dues, you've not finished helping them. Is it to now be chasing people that are just harming some elements of the society? That is it? Will you go and call Ministry of Labor? They don't have that kind of manpower to be chasing all these recruiters all over Nigeria. And Nigeria is big, in case you don't know. All right. I think I saw one more question from Sheyi Adegbola, and it's around medical. That will probably be our last question, except Alassane also has 1 or 2 more things to say, and we wrap up. We have to wrap up in 9 minutes or even less. And the question is, at what stage is medical required? He also said or asked, is it all employment or roles that needs medical? Who wants to answer this question? If you want to answer this question quickly, answer this question on medical specifically. Raise your hands. Now, this is me talking as me. Okay, I'm not speaking for any authority or at all. I'm just, oh, you want to say something?
Okay, yes, I wanted to say something on that. Now,
Alan, you want to say something?
yes, please. Yes, please. I wanted to say something on
Go
that. At
ahead.
what stage is medical employment required? Is at the stages of where you have selected this candidate already. At the selection process, you have selected this candidate before offer letter. You have to do a pre-medical test to know if these people are fully fit to perform the job, right? And the second is pre-medical test important for all positions. For me, with my experience, I think it's for skilled laborer alone, because we have unskilled laborer. So somebody who is a helper, who you are bringing unskilled laborer, somebody with SSC, you are not going to do a pre-medical test for these people before they start work. So these people are people who are on wages. So they are on weekly wages. These people you don't engage them with any offer. They can leave anytime, any day, any second. So I think it's for the skilled laborer. Thank you.
Okay, so let me just add a corollary to that. The medical largely depend on the function, on the job role. So, for example, if the role will involve maybe carrying heavy things like that, you may want to check people's X-ray of the chest, for example, to see that they have the minimum capacity to sustain that kind of load. Even if the person is unskilled, for example, and they die on your watch, in your premise, you know you can be liable. You understand? Take even domestic workers, maybe house help or something. But guess what? How many of us today will hire a house help, a nanny, a caregiver without doing some basic medical tests, even for informal settings? So, and why do you do that? In quotes, you don't want people with maybe hepatitis B or to have access to your children. So, is what I'm trying to say is that in a function of what is the kind of role and what is the kind of safety concerns or harm that anybody doing that job will be exposed to. And is it better to know the conditions of the candidate so that maybe if you have certain ailments that can incapacitate you from being able to work effectively on this job, or if you have certain conditions and you don't do medical and you pick up this job, maybe it can be injurious to you. I'll give one example. So imagine maybe you hire a woman as a cabin crew, okay, and you don't do medical tests and you don't guess what? The cabin pressure in the plane is not good over a sustained period of time for the fetus or baby in the pregnancy. So you are doing medical tests to protect, in this context, for example, the fetus and the baby. So I agree, maybe you don't want to do tests for everything, but especially if you're a big organization, when you have multiple, you should do tests. So don't let us assume, forget that people are looking handsome and beautiful or fresh and chubby. It doesn't mean they don't have some underlying condition that may not become aggravated, worse, such that giving them that job will now become a burden or something that will become regrettable. Or they may also not have the health capability. So functionalities to do a job is not just intellectual. You also have that physical and health perspective, depending on the. So if, for example, you're hiring people maybe to catering, kitchen, this food and last test, all this, you must do it. It's not necessarily because the person is educated or not educated. And there are certain industries that medical tests and even specific medical tests is mandatory. It's not negotiable. Okay, so I avoid any form of litigation or public health safety concerns. Ladies and gentlemen, at this intersection, I would like to sincerely thank everybody for your contributions. But let me read additional comments in the chat box. I'm not taking any question anymore. Bukola says, for construction company that employs many unskilled labor. Okay, I didn't get that. Do you mean you need it or you don't need it? I'm not sure. Someone says, okay, it's a question. Do you have to give offer letter to a new hire before they resume or until they resume? I would say give them before they resume, because if you don't give them the offer letter, especially if they are working somewhere, what's the motivation for them to go and resign? What if they resume and you now still don't give them? You now leave a place you have a letter for a place you don't have a letter. You understand? They say some use the letter to negotiate better salary in their company and later say they are not interested in the job. HR has to start again. I understand your pain, but that's part of the cross we carry. If you don't give the average professional an offer letter, they won't take the job, except is someone that is fresh from school or is unemployed and has been at home for 3 years and they are now very desperate. You understand? So don't say because they will use your letter to negotiate. And that's why when we recruit, you don't just take one person for one role. You take like 3 people. You now have first, second, third. So you have your backup in case the first person defaults, in case the second person defaults, in case the third person organization. But they got order for her and they came to you and you negotiated with them to retain them. So what comes around goes around. It is a mandatory but industry dependent. People in the hospitality industry, especially, stand their physical check for inventory staff. There are tests that somebody in the factory may need and the driver may not need. So it's better you even engage with your doctor or HMO to, classify these different roles, and they will advise you on applicable tests. I'm talking about non-regulatory tests now, so that they even guide you. Otherwise, don't just be doing the same test for everybody, irrespective of their role. You do some tests may be more critical. Just imagine URCW decides to do eye tests for all the drivers in Lagos. I hope you know what will happen the following day. All right, Vicky Star, thank you so much for your appreciation. You know how we do it when we come to the end of a session like this. Personally, I'd like to thank our facilitator, Alasan Ocheni, and I also like on mute. Please, let's say big thank you. Let's verbalize our appreciation to Alasan Ocheni for this
Alasan.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much. Very insightful.
Thank you, Mr. Alazan.
Thank you, Alazan.
You
Mr. Alazan.
made the nice submission.
Yeah. Thank you, Alasan. Thank